In this short tutorial, we're going to explain the easy way to encrypt footage that you send to us for redaction. I'll go through the tools that are needed. Typically, you would be sending 3 files to us for redaction. So they would be the redaction instructions, which is just a text file, and we'll look at that. A text file would have the job reference or a unique reference so that we can identify the work and keep records of it. That shouldn't include personal details of the subject or anyone else. What the subject looks like, so in this case it's a white male in a blue jacket and grey trousers. The instructions, so the subject enters the footage at 10:15 AM, leaves at 10:18 AM, and the instructions are please redact all persons except the subject. That's fairly typical of a small redaction job, so it should be obvious as long as there's only one person with a blue jacket and grey trousers that enters and leaves at those times and it's just one camera, then we should be okay. So we would have the source CCTV, which would be the source footage itself. Now this may be an MP4, it may be a series of files from a digital video recorder, so there'd be a set of files and folders. There could be all sorts of things, but the simplest thing might be an MP4, it might be an AVI, or it might be a whole bunch of files that constitute the CCTV. If a password is needed to access the CCTV, then we will need that as well. You have a photograph of the subject, so this would be supplied by the subject themselves when making the request. That will help to identify them. They should, when they make their subject access request, send you the description of what they were wearing, roughly the time that they entered and left the premises, and a photograph of themselves. So these are the 3 files in this example. You may have more files than this, but typically as a minimum that's what we'd expect to see. So to send these to us either on a USB stick or on a CD-ROM or electronically via the internet, they need to be encrypted. So the way that we suggest that you do that is by using some software that's capable of storing those files in an encrypted format, and we use 7-zip to do this. It works on Windows, Mac and Linux formats. So the website is on the screen now. It's 7-zip.org. Depending on which version of Windows you have, most of it's 64-bit these days. You download that file, install it, and it doesn't take very long. It's a very quick download. It's only 1 megabyte. It doesn't take long to install. It installs in a few seconds. Once it's in, there's no real evidence other than it's in the start menu, but what you get then is a context sensitive menu. So when you highlight the files like this and right click, you've now got 7-zip in the list of things to do. So here we choose add to archive. Now for these purposes, the options we recommend that you choose for sending stuff to us is use zip format, use store, so here we store. Now this is defaulted to the name test.zip, but we could call it anything we want, so R1 redaction. So here we choose the level of encryption. Now if you're sending stuff to us, AES 256 is the best way to do it. That's a very high level of encryption, and you enter a password in here. Now I'm going to give you an example of a typical password. You can choose any type of password you want, but what we tend to do is make sure it starts and ends with something that people know that they can copy and paste. So we tend to put something like a hashtag or maybe an open bracket, something like that at the start, a bit of gobbledygook in the middle, nice combination of things, hashtag at the end. So that's quite a complex password, so at that point copy it so that you've got a copy of the password, you know what you've sent to us. Okay on there. Now we've got a file called r1redaction.zip. This file contains all 3 of those files, but it's encrypted. It's not possible to view them. The password that you've copied, you need to store that somewhere locally on your system. Don't send it with the file, send it separately. So whether that's a text message or you phone us up and disclose it over the phone, but don't put it in with the disk, don't put it in with a USB stick, don't write the password down on the packaging or on the envelope or anything like that. but you do need to make sure you've got a copy of that password. And if you've got encrypted storage at your end, what you can do is quite simply make a new text document for the password, paste it in there. So as long as your system is secure, the password for that job is saved in a file called pw.txt. So at any point later on you need to disclose it, there's your password. So you would copy that from hashtag to hashtag. So the reason we started with a hashtag and ended with one is to punctuate it so that it's easy for people to know that they've got everything they need. When you disclose passwords to people, there can be some problems with things getting truncated in emails, people missing digits out. So if you tell them that actually it starts with a hashtag, ends with a hashtag, that can sort of reduce the risk of people getting it wrong at the receiving end. And it is case sensitive, so if there's capital letters in there, there need to be capital letters as well. It's very important. This is us. We've received the file from you, however you sent it to us, whether that's on a USB stick, on a CD-ROM, on a DVD, or electronically by the internet. So we received this file from you. We copy that onto our encrypted drive. So r1redaction.zip. For us to see the contents of that, we need to right click. We need to go into 7-zip. We choose extract to R1 redaction, and it asks us for the password. Now at some point you've disclosed that password to us, which I've still got on my system, but ordinarily that would be sent to us by separate means, either to a different email address or by text message or over the phone. We put the password in. That's unencrypted now, so we've got a folder with the 3 files in. We can read your instructions and they're there. 7-zip works in a few different ways. It's worth exploring the interface for disclosure purposes to other people. There's a different system that you might want to use, which makes it a bit easier for the recipient to decrypt things. But in general, that's how it works. It's very, very easy to use, very low on resources, doesn't hog anything on your system. It's free, it's open source, and it works really well.